Hey guys! Tonight we travel somewhere far more brutal than anything you've ever scrolled past on social media. Straight into the raw, unforgiving world of the Stone Age. Picture this, you blink and suddenly you're dropped into a dense forest. The sun is dipping below the trees. The air smells like damp moss and something suspiciously musky. And every rustle in the bushes makes your heart pound. You reach for your phone. But nope. Not invented yet. No flashlight. No DoorDash. And guess what? Those fleece-lined sweatpants you're wearing. Absolutely worthless against what's coming. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your city and local time in the comments. I want to know who's tuning in from where. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The forest doesn't wait for you to settle in. You're already behind. Every creature here, four-legged, winged, or human, is either better camouflaged, better equipped, or just plain meaner. The temperature is dropping like a plot twist, and your modern sense of safety, useless. You don't even know which way the sun rises because let's be real. You've been waking up to phone alarms your whole life. You wander blindly, stepping over gnarled roots and ducking under branches that claw at your hoodie like they've got a grudge. Something scurries past your foot. Squirrel. Rat. Gremlin. Doesn't matter. Your instincts are buzzing with a kind of fear you've never felt outside a horror movie. Every sound is a threat. Every shadow is a potential predator. You never noticed how loud the forest is when you're not behind car windows or earbuds. Birds scream like sirens. Insects buzz in clouds around your face. And somewhere in the distance, yep, that was a howl. A real one. Let's pause for a second and look at the facts. The Paleolithic period, aka the Old Stone Age, spans from about 5 million years ago to roughly 10,000 BCE. That's a lot of history and zero deodorant. During this time, early humans lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers. No farms, no cities, just wandering bands of people trying not to get eaten. And you, poor time traveler, have nothing. Not even shoes with decent arch support. You'd kill for a granola bar right now, but your stomach is going to have to wait. You spot what looks like a clearing and make your way toward it, thinking maybe, just maybe, there's a friendly cave or a warm fire waiting. Spoiler, there's not. What you do find is a shallow stream, which is great, because you're parched. You lean down, scoop up water, and wait, is it safe? You hesitate. You've seen enough documentaries to know this could be full of bacteria. But thirst wins. The water is icy, refreshing, and probably full of microbes that would make your doctor cry. Too late now. You sit on a rock, trying to take it all in. The forest is so alive, and not in the Disney way. This isn't some enchanted woodland full of singing raccoons. It's a place where the food chain doesn't take days off. You're not top dog here. You're not even middle. Here's something fun. Historians still argue whether early humans feared the dark for practical reasons, like predators, or if it also triggered something deeper, more primal, like the roots of early spiritual beliefs. Either way, as the sky turns from golden to pitch black, you start to get it. You gather dry leaves and twigs, vaguely remembering some YouTube survival video about making a fire with friction. You try rubbing sticks together. Nothing. You try faster. Still nothing. You curse a little, then immediately stop. Because if there are any humans nearby, you definitely don't want to sound like a threat. Or like prey, in the corner of your vision, something flickers. A shine. 2 glowing dots low to the ground. Then another set. And another. You freeze. Pack. Coyotes. Wolves. Giant prehistoric feral cats with trust issues. Your heart thuds so loudly you swear it echoes off the trees. You scramble up, trying to back away slowly while not falling into the stream or snapping a branch. Every sound you make feels like an invitation. You remember reading that early humans didn't dominate their world. They survived by hiding, outsmarting, and sometimes just by pure dumb luck. And luck, not on your side tonight. Eventually, the glowing eyes blink away. You don't know if they lost interest or are just repositioning, but your legs won't stop shaking. You realize with creeping horror that you need shelter, not just for comfort, but to live through the night. You find a cluster of rocks, half covered in moss, and squeeze into a shallow alcove. It's damp, cramped, and probably infested with bugs. You press your knees to your chest and pull your hoodie tight like it's magical armor. But let's be real. Your $80 hoodie wasn't made for saber-toothed tiger weather. And yes, those were real. By the way, Smilodon fatalis, a muscular feline with saber-length teeth, roamed parts of the Americas during the later Ice Age. Not exactly cuddly. You breathe in. It smells like mildew, cold earth, and whatever's currently nesting beside you. Probably a spider the size of a salad plate. You try not to think about it. People tend to romanticize the Stone Age as some sort of simple, idyllic time. Campfires, storytelling, raw authenticity. But the reality, it's full-on survival mode every waking second. You don't get to scroll TikTok while roasting mammoth meat. You're too busy not dying. And as you finally drift into a half-sleep, still shivering and half-listening for footsteps or growls, you understand something bone-deep: you weren't built for this. Morning doesn't so much arrive as it just kind of leaks into the sky. You wake up sore, itchy, and grumpier than a bear with a rock in its paw. The forest has gone quiet, eerily so. There's a mist hanging in the air, and your clothes are damp from dew or your own sweat. Hard to tell anymore. Your stomach makes a noise that sounds like a haunted dishwasher. You're starving. Not "I skipped breakfast hungry." This is primal. Your body has already burned through last night's panic calories, and it's demanding real fuel. Food. You need food. You stagger out of your rock nook, scanning for anything remotely edible. The forest looks like a Whole Foods if you had no idea what any of the items were. Mushrooms. Sure. But are they the kind that nourish or the kind that make your brain think it's made of lava? No way to know. Your first foraging attempt is basically a game of guess and chew. You spot some bright red berries, and against every instinct, you pop a few into your mouth. They're sour, a little bitter, and kind of fuzzy. Not a good sign. But hey, at least they don't taste like poison. Yet. You find some leaves that look vaguely like spinach and munch those too. A few chewy stems. Some bark. And wow, that one leaf was definitely not a food leaf. Within minutes, your stomach feels like it's trying to tie itself in a knot. Quirky tidbit of the day: some Stone Age groups may have chewed on willow bark not just out of desperation, but because it contains salicin, a natural pain reliever. Basically, prehistoric aspirin. You, however, just chewed on something that's making your tongue go numb. Historians still argue whether early humans passed down foraging knowledge through trial and error or if some kind of proto-education system existed within tribes. Either way, you're not in the loop. You're the error. You try to distract yourself from the belly cramps by looking for protein. Insects come to mind. Yes, you swatted at them all night. But now, you'd eat a cricket like a snack mix. You find a couple hiding under a log and, after a brief internal debate, crunch one down. Not terrible. Kind of nutty. Kind of trauma-inducing. By now the sun's higher. And with it, the bugs return in force. Flies buzz around your eyes. Mosquitoes treat you like an all-you-can-suck buffet. And you're still barefoot, stepping gingerly over pine needles, cold mud, and things that squish alarmingly. Let's talk footwear, or lack thereof. Your feet are already torn up. One heel has a blister the size of a coin. A sharp pebble sliced your arch. And let's not even start on that thorn you picked up an hour ago that's still riding shotgun in your soul. You try to fashion some kind of foot protection. You tear off pieces of your hoodie, R.I.P., modern comfort, and wrap them around your feet with long grass and twigs. It's more pathetic than productive, but at least you're not bleeding more. Next, you decide to try for a real meal. Fruit, maybe. You vaguely recall that wild apples used to be tiny, bitter, and full of seeds. No supermarkets here. Champ. The sweet, crisp Fuji you know and love. A few thousand years of farming away. Still, you follow a flock of birds, figuring if they're hanging around. Something edible must be nearby. Sure enough, you spot a bush full of small purplish berries. You sniff. You poke. You chew one cautiously. And wait. Nothing. Then, slowly, the sweetness hits. Jackpot. You gorge. You don't even care that your fingers are stained or that your face now looks like a toddler who got into the jam jar. You eat until you're full. Or at least less desperate. There's a brief moment of triumph. You did it. You survived breakfast. You're filthy. Scratched up. Probably poisoned. But you're alive. And then it hits you. You have no idea where you are. No GPS. No landmarks. No recenter map button. Just trees. More trees. And some birds laughing at you from the canopy. You're directionless in every possible sense. Early humans had a finely honed sense of place. They read the land like a living map, using the angle of the sun, bird calls, water patterns, and even wind shifts to find their way. You, on the other hand, spin around twice and can't tell north from not where I came from. You pick a direction and start walking. It doesn't take long before the terrain gets trickier. Rocks, fallen logs, sudden dips, and one hilarious moment where you step right into what can only be described as a prehistoric mud smoothie. Every step drains you. Your energy reserves are gone. You're dizzy, and your stomach is starting to gurgle again. Not from hunger this time. Remember those berries? Yeah, maybe not the best call. You double over, nausea clamping down like a vice. You retch into the dirt, cursing every modern convenience you ever took for granted. Refrigerators, nutritional labels, Google. Eventually, the cramps pass. You lie on your side, panting, cheek pressed to the damp forest floor. You're pretty sure you just vomited up the last remnants of 21st century dignity. But you're learning. Slowly. Nature doesn't care about your feelings. You either figure it out or you become part of the food chain. Around midday, you stumble onto something useful. A tree trunk riddled with holes. Inside, grubs. Fat. Wriggling. Undeniably protein-packed. You gag. Hesitate. Then eat one. You've come this far. The slimy. But your body thanks you instantly. As you lick bug goo off your fingers, You realize something wild. You're adapting. Not well. Not fast. But it's happening. You're still absolutely not built for this. But you might make it through the day. You've made it a full day without becoming predator chow, which feels like an achievement worthy of fireworks, or at least a protein bar. But the Stone Age doesn't hand out participation trophies. And now that you've had your crash course in foraging, your stomach has bigger ideas. It wants meat. That primal craving creeps in, stirred by the lingering scent of something. Burnt fur, distant smoke. Your brain flares with hope, fire, food, maybe even humans. You follow the smell, quiet as you can. After all, you might be looking for dinner, but that doesn't mean you're not on someone else's menu. You inch forward until you find a clearing. And there, near a smoldering pile of coals, is the ribcage of a small animal, something like a hare or a fox. Not much meat left, but enough to prove that others are nearby. Could be human, could be wolves. You don't wait to find out. Instead, you think, maybe it's your turn to hunt. You imagine it. Heroic, silent, precise, like a Netflix survival doc, but with more grunting. The reality, a total disaster. First, you need a weapon. You pick up a long stick and try sharpening it by dragging it across a rock. Sparks fly, literally. You're momentarily thrilled, until you realize that doesn't mean fire. It just means bruised hands. You find a flattish rock and try chipping another into a blade. After 20 minutes, you manage a pointy shard that looks more like a broken plate than anything remotely lethal. Still, you clutch your spear with the desperate confidence of someone who once watched a caveman movie on a plane. You stalk through the woods, sticking close to trees for cover. You spot a bird. You freeze, raise the stick, and completely miss it by 5 feet. It flies away laughing. Historians still argue whether early humans hunted primarily in coordinated groups or if solo ambushes were more common in certain regions. Either way, the Stone Age wasn't kind to loners. You're starting to get why. Not ready to give up. You keep walking, hoping for something slower. A rabbit, a wounded deer, maybe even a really confident lizard. You hear a rustle and spin. Too fast, and slam your foot into a hidden rock. Pain shoots up your leg. You scream. Loud. Bad move. Something hears you. A branch snaps. Deliberately. Not wind. Not chance. Something large is nearby. You don't wait to identify it. You run. Branches whip your arms. Your makeshift shoe wraps unravel. Your heart pounds like a war drum. You dive into a bush and lie still, gasping. And then you see it. Just past the trees. A shadow moves. It's low to the ground, but huge. Muscles rippling under fur. Maybe a dire wolf. Maybe a prehistoric big cat. Either way, it's not your friend. It sniffs, circles, then slowly disappears into the undergrowth. You stay put for a full hour, barely breathing. And in that hour, it hits you hard. In this world, you're not the hunter. You're the hunted. Even small hunts here are brutal. One wrong step, one mistimed move, and you're the evening news for a saber-tooth. Still, early humans did hunt, and often quite effectively. With tools, teamwork, and ridiculous amounts of patience. They brought down animals much larger than themselves. In some regions, they likely drove entire herds into natural traps. Ravines, pits, even off cliffs. They weren't just lucky. They were clever. But you don't even know how to keep your stomach quiet. By mid-afternoon, you're back to grubs and berries. But the thought of real meat won't let go. You want that fire-cooked taste. You want protein, not insects with eyebrows. So, when you spot a squirrel, not just a blur in the trees, but sitting there, chewing a nut, you freeze. This is it. Your chance. You hold your breath. Slowly raise your rock. You're so focused on your target, you don't notice the ants crawling up your leg, or the mosquito on your neck, or the painful silence of the woods when a predator is nearby. And just as you lunge forward, bam, you slip on a patch of damp moss and land flat on your back. The squirrel vanishes like a magic trick. You lie there, bruised and humiliated. And then something buzzes in your ear. Not a bug this time. A memory. A faint echo of a podcast you heard once. About how early humans didn't always hunt animals directly. Sometimes they scavenged. You pick up. Scavenging. That sounds way more your speed. You're not a predator. You're an opportunist. A prehistoric raccoon in human form. You return to the clearing from earlier, where the animal ribcage still lies. This time, you're bold enough to approach. It's charred, partially eaten, and probably crawling with bacteria. But also, you notice, there's a sliver of meat clinging to the spine. You pick up a stick, peel the meat off, and sniff it. Smoky, slightly foul, but undeniably real food. You eat it, immediately regret it. But your body doesn't. Your hands shake a little, partly from calories and partly from the horror of what you just did. Welcome to the Stone Age. Morals bend when hunger sharpens. You don't have fire, but whoever left this carcass did. Which means, somewhere nearby, are others. Other humans. The thought is thrilling and terrifying. Quirky fact, some archaeologists believe early humans may have followed other predators like lions or hyenas at a safe distance, waiting for scraps, or even driving them off their kills using fire and numbers. Basically, Stone Age bullies with torches. You're not quite ready for fire raids yet, but you are ready for company. Because after everything, the failed hunt, the near mauling, the squirrel betrayal, what you really want isn't just food. It's help. You want someone else's eyes watching the woods while you sleep. You want to stop feeling like the weirdest animal in the forest. And for that, you're going to need to meet the locals. You've eaten mystery meat off a burnt ribcage, been stalked by something with fangs, and invented a footwear system held together with desperation and twigs. But now your body is making a new kind of demand. One even louder than hunger, warmth. The sun's slipping again. That fast. Vertical kind of sunset you only notice when you've been without clocks. Shadows stretch long and crooked. And the forest temperature nosedives like a rock off a cliff. Your breath fogs in the air. Your fingers go stiff. You need fire. Not just for comfort. This is survival. Fire means warmth, light, safety, and most importantly, a psychological hug from the universe that says, you're not going to die tonight. Modern brains associate fire with coziness. Maybe yes, mores. But for early humans, fire was the tool that cracked the night open. It chased away predators, cooked dangerous bacteria out of food, hardened spears, and turned groups of frightened foragers into something bigger, something social. But let's zoom back to you, shivering behind a bush, your lips blue and your teeth sounding like castanets. You try to remember how fire is made. Movies lied. You start with the classic rubbing sticks. You gather dry wood, 2 pieces, both straightish, both slightly soft. You nestle some dead grass and leaves into a little tinder pile and begin rubbing. Faster. Your hands are raw within minutes. The sticks heat, sure, but nowhere near enough to smoke. You shift strategies and try the bow drill method, fashioning a rudimentary bow out of a curved branch and a vine. You create friction. You almost get a wisp of smoke. Then your vine snaps. Not helping, your hands are now red and cracked. Your fingers trembling from both cold and frustration. Quirky side note, in some prehistoric regions, people may have used pyrite, a shiny, golden mineral nicknamed fool's gold, to spark fire against flint. It created little showers of sparks when struck, but unless you've got a geology degree buried somewhere in your ribcage, good luck finding that combo tonight. You scream into the darkness. Not a full-throated wail. Just a hoarse little growl of defeat. But even that feels dangerous. Something out there could hear. Your mind spirals. Fire isn't just about comfort anymore. It's about being seen. Being human. It's probably what first gathered people into circles. Historians still argue whether fire use began as a defensive tool or a social one. Maybe both. Either way, without it, you feel like an animal. At one point, you try the spark method, clacking 2 rocks together. You do, in fact, get a spark. It lands on your leaf pile. You blow gently. The spark dies with a cruel little sigh, like it's judging you. You try again, and again. You lose count of how many minutes pass. Or is it hours? The air is colder now. Even the insects have quieted. And then, miracle. A single ember. It lands in your grass pile and doesn't die. You blow on it. Gently. Slowly. Like encouraging a shy kitten. It glows. Then smolders. Then, poof. A tiny tongue of flame. You flinch like it might bite you. Then you laugh. Actually laugh. A weird, choked sound that bubbles up from somewhere ancient in your chest. Fire. You feed it carefully. Twigs. Then sticks. Your face glows orange in the flickering light. The shadows dance around you. And for the first time in what feels like years, you feel like something might go right. You hold your hands over the flames. The heat is immediate, intimate, like the sun is kneeling beside you. You inch closer. Steam rises off your damp clothes. Your fingers twitch back to life. Feels like victory, like magic. Then the smoke hits your eyes. All right, you forgot the part where fire produces smoke. Your nose burns. Your throat itches. You scoot around to avoid the cloud, but it follows you like it's got a vendetta. You try building a small stone ring around the base. But guess what? You don't know how to engineer a proper airflow system, so it's basically guesswork. Eventually, you just accept it. You're coughing, watering at the eyes, and smelling like toasted regret. But you're warm. You let your head fall back, staring up at the stars now visible through the bare tree canopy. They don't twinkle. They blaze, steady and bright, like prehistoric streetlights. No planes, no glow from cities, just an overwhelming reminder of how small you are. As the fire crackles, something unexpected stirs inside you. Not just relief, something deeper. Gratitude, awe, a weird, creeping sense of pride. You made fire. Well, technically you coaxed fire, with tears and desperation. But still, You sit by your tiny campfire, feeding it little twigs like offerings to a very picky god. You think about early humans doing this exact thing, crouched in the dirt, eyes gleaming, whispering stories no one remembers. Some archaeologists believe fire may have reshaped human evolution. Cooking unlocked more nutrients, which possibly helped our brains grow larger. It also extended the day, allowing people to talk, plan, maybe even imagine futures together. Fire changed everything. And you're feeling that now. In your bones. You remember all those nights curled up with your phone, watching camping videos from a heated room. You thought you were prepared. But this is different. Fire isn't a convenience out here. It's life. A rustle pulls your attention. You grab your stick spear, hard hammering. But it's nothing. A squirrel. Or wind. Maybe the fire's keeping the scarier things away. You add more fuel and watch the sparks rise like fireflies. Your eyes begin to droop. The warmth is almost too perfect. You know better than to fully sleep. But you doze in bursts, head bobbing, hands still curled around a stick. Your dreams are chaotic and primal. Running, falling, screaming, laughing. Fire. Always fire. When you wake again, it's still dark, but your flame's down to embers. You blow gently, feed it a stick, watch it flare up again. And in that moment, with your eyes stinging, your limbs sore, and your heart still thudding, you feel something strange, hope. Not that you'll make it, not yet, but that you could. Morning creeps in slowly this time, golden light slicing through tree trunks like warm knives. The fire you fought for all night is now a soft heap of ash and blackened twigs, glowing faintly like a dying memory. You stretch. Every joint pops. Your back cracks like a stick underfoot, and your muscles protest like you've slept inside a garbage compactor. But you're alive. You're warm. And, for the first time since your accidental plunge into the Stone Age, you feel almost competent. So, naturally, it's time to hurt yourself. Because now you need a real tool. You've seen people in documentaries, hunched over rocks, turning chunks of flint into arrowheads and blades with a few graceful taps. You think, how hard can it be? Oh, sweet summer child. You start by searching for rocks. Not all stones are created equal. You need something hard, sharp, breakable, but not too breakable. Ideally flint, obsidian, or chert. What you find is data rock. That's as specific as you can manage. You sit cross-legged and start bashing two stones together like a frustrated toddler with building blocks. The first 10 minutes produce nothing but loud clacks and sore fingers. Then, finally, a shard breaks off. It's jagged and weirdly beautiful. You grin. This feels promising. You try again. More carefully now. You hold one rock steady in your palm and strike it with another, aiming to flake thin pieces from the edge. You manage a couple, though one piece flies into your lap and slices through your pants like paper. Oops. Still, you press on. After half an hour, you've created something vaguely resembling a hand axe. A crude triangle with one sharper edge. You're thrilled, until you nick your thumb picking it up. Blood wells up. Of course. You wrap it with a bit of your already destroyed hoodie sleeve, realizing yet again that survival is a team sport. And you're playing solo with bad gear and zero coaching. Quirky detail time in some Paleolithic sites. Archaeologists have found practice tools. Misshapen flint blades tossed aside, suggesting even prehistoric teens had to learn through trial and error. Some tools even show signs of being reshaped over time as skills improved. You're definitely starting in the remedial class. With your blade and your bandage, you decide it's time to level up, making a spear. You search for a sturdy stick, about your arm's length. Eventually you find one that's straightish and not too heavy. You use your rock tool to shave down one end. It's a slow, clumsy process. You lose a chunk of thumbnail. You swear. Softly. The birds judge you. After what feels like a lifetime, you've got a pointed end. It's not razor sharp, but it might penetrate something soft. Like, say, your own foot if you drop it. You test its balance. It wobbles like a spaghetti noodle. Still, it's yours. There's a strange satisfaction in holding it. You feel taller, more capable, like you've just equipped your first weapon in an RPG. But here's the truth you quickly discover. Wielding a spear and using a spear are two very different things. You practice throwing it. The first few tries are embarrassing. It goes maybe 5 feet, then flops over like a tired fish. Eventually you manage a decent arc, 10, maybe 12 feet, but it still lacks force. Historians still debate how effective early spears really were. Some argue they were used primarily for thrusting, not throwing, especially in forested areas. Others suggest early humans may have developed specialized throwing sticks or even atlatls, primitive spear throwers, to improve distance and power. You, sadly, do not have an atlatl. You have enthusiasm and a rapidly bruising shoulder. You try to hunt again. Not for sport. Not for the challenge. You've got calories to reclaim. You crouch in the underbrush, gripping your not-so-deadly spear. And wait. A rabbit scampers by. You tense. Aim. Throw. Your spear sails right past it, whistling majestically through the air and landing with a wunk in the dirt. The rabbit stops, looks at you, then hops away slowly, like it knows you're not a threat. You retrieve your spear and try again, this time creeping up on a bird pecking at something on the ground. It flutters away before you even lift your arm, and suddenly it hits you. In the Stone Age, failure isn't charming. It's not a blooper reel or a growth opportunity. It's hunger. It's weakness. It's risk. Every bruise, every missed shot, every slice on your hand lowers your odds. Bit by bit. Still, you keep trying. You improvise. You learn to wrap vines around your spear's tip to help hold your stone blade in place. You scrape bark away to make hand grips. You test different throwing angles. And you start to think, maybe you're not so hopeless. Maybe you could survive this, if only for another day. As the sun sinks again, your stomach growls. Still empty. Still waiting. You light a new fire, using your now slightly faster rock sparking technique. You sit by the flames, your spear beside you, your hands bandaged in torn cloth and moss. You look a mess, but you're a mess with a weapon. And in the glow of the fire, your silhouette, stick in hand, face smudged with ash and sweat, starts to resemble something ancient, something familiar, something almost human. You've got fire. You've got a stick that technically counts as a spear. You've even drawn a little blood, mostly your own. But now, just as you're starting to understand the solo game of survival, it changes. Because you're no longer alone. It starts with a distant sound. Not a predator's growl or an animal's scurry. No, this is unmistakably human. A short, sharp shout, like someone calling out. Your head snaps toward the noise. Every cell in your body goes still. Then, more voices. A few. Not loud. Not panicked. But nearby. Male. Female. You can't tell. But suddenly, the idea of other people, actual Stone Age humans, becomes real. And honestly, terrifying. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they want. You don't speak their language, share their customs, or understand their laws, which probably involve a lot more spears than you're comfortable with. Still, curiosity gets the better of you. You follow the sound through the trees, moving slow, crouched low, the way you've seen in those shows where everyone's covered in face paint and whispering into cameras. Eventually, you find them. 5 figures around a fire, seated on logs or crouched on haunches. Their skin is darker than yours from sun and soot. Their hair is tangled, tied back with leather strips. Their clothes are stitched together from hides and fur, practical and warm. One stands guard, holding a proper spear. Longer, better balanced, tipped with a stone blade that puts your sad invention to shame. Your first instinct: run. Your second: watch. You crouch behind a bush, heart hammering. They speak in low tones, grunting, gesturing, half sentences and signs. You can't catch meaning, but the rhythm feels old, familiar, like theater stripped down to its bones. Historians still argue whether Stone Age languages were complex or more rudimentary, a mix of gestures, vocal calls, and context-based grunts. But whatever they're doing, it works. You can tell who's in charge, who's annoyed, who's hungry. And then, as if you triggered a tripwire, the guard turns, locks eyes with you. You freeze. He shouts. The group stiffens. Everyone's up in seconds. Spears raised. You raise your hands instinctively. A modern gesture of peace. Useless here. They approach cautiously, fanning out. One speaks. You don't understand. Obviously. But the tone says, "Who are you? And why are you watching us from a bush like a weirdo?" You try to speak. "Hi." You croak, then immediately regret it. You point to your chest, say your name, then gesture to the sky, the ground, your fire-scorched hands, the pathetic spear at your side. They study you with hard eyes. Then the leader, a woman with braided hair and a necklace of teeth, steps forward. She walks a slow circle around you, sniffing like a dog. She points to your feet, your bizarre wrappings, your cracked lips. She says something sharp, and the others laugh. Not in a cruel way, more like disbelief, as if they're saying, "What rock did this poor creature crawl out from under?" She gestures. "Follow." And so, you do. You enter their camp. It's not much. A few hides stretched over branches, tools laid out on flat stones, and a cooking fire. But compared to your single smoldering pile of twigs, it's luxury. Organized. Clean. Even. Someone offers you water in a hollowed-out gourd. You gulp it like you've been in a desert. Another hands you a chunk of roasted meat. Real meat. Not scavenged. You chew, trying not to sob. Then silence. Everyone watches you, waiting. You sit. They sit. One person makes a gesture, open hand, then points at you. A question. You realize you're being interviewed. Prehistoric style. You pick up a stick and start drawing in the dirt. A tree. A fire. A sad little human, you next to a big angry cat. The group leans in. Murmurs. Someone adds to your sketch. A better tree, and a spear flying through the air. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. Awkward and shaky. This is communication. Slow, clumsy, but real. Quirky historical tidbit. Some anthropologists believe early humans used drawing and mimicry long before spoken grammar took hold. It's possible that many conversations were essentially long games of charades. By the end of the night, they still don't trust you, but they're letting you stay. Barely. You lie at the edge of their circle, closer to the fire than you ever dared alone. You feel watched, but not hunted. The tension is different now. Less about animals, more about hierarchy. Because here's the thing, you're the outsider. The anomaly. They don't know your name, your background, your weird habits like flinching at every twig snap. You're not kin. You're not proven. You're tolerated, so long as you stay quiet. Useful, and very, very unthreatening. That's the cost of community here. It isn't warmth and welcome from the start. It's earned, and slowly. But it is something. Something vital. Human evolution, after all, was never just about tools or fire. It was about cooperation. Shared burdens. Shared stories. People who protected one another's backs while sleeping beside hungry predators. Historians debate how tightly early bands were structured, whether they resembled families, tribal councils, or wandering collectives. But what's clear is that those who lived together survived together. Trust wasn't optional. It was everything. And you're a trust project in progress. They let you watch them craft tools, shape bones into hooks, scrape skins with obsidian edges. One woman gestures for you to try. You do. You're slow, clumsy, but you try. Later, they eat again. You get a smaller portion. You don't complain. When the fire dims, the group curls up close, shoulders touching, bodies overlapping like puzzle pieces. You lie a little apart. Not quite one of them. Not yet. But as you close your eyes, wrapped in a borrowed hide that still smells like wet dog and smoke, you feel something strange. Not fear. Not hunger. Belonging. The faintest hint of it. Anyway, when you wake up, the world smells like wet fur, smoke, and something distinctly fishy. You're crammed awkwardly against a sleeping body. A child, maybe. Or someone who snores like a goat. Limbs are tangled. Someone's foot is pressed gently against your neck. And for a brief, confused moment, you think, did I survive the night or get adopted by wolves? Welcome to hygiene. Stone Age edition. The first thing you notice is the itch. Everywhere. Your scalp feels like it's staging a tiny uprising. Your armpits. Your waistband. Your toes. All areas of personal territory now completely lost to dirt. Sweat. And what might be flea colonies. You glance around. No one else seems concerned. The woman with the braided hair is squatting by the stream, spitting into her hands and rubbing her teeth with a thin twig. No toothpaste. No mint. Just bark, friction, and centuries of habit. You mimic her. Find a stick. Chew the end until it frays, and start scrubbing. It's like trying to clean your mouth with a tree root. But after a few minutes, your teeth actually feel better. Not fresh. Not even remotely minty. But less disgusting. Quirky tidbit. Some archaeological evidence suggests early humans used crushed bones, ash, and even charcoal as primitive tooth cleaning agents. Abrasive. Yes. But when your other option is slowly rotting enamel, it's not the worst trade. You try to rinse your face in the stream. It's freezing. You splash it on anyway, trying to remove whatever's crusted on your cheek. Dirt. Or maybe someone else's drool from the communal sleep pile. You look at your reflection in the water and barely recognize yourself. Hair tangled into one massive dreadnought. Skin smeared in soot and mud. Lips cracked. Eyes twitchy. Somewhere between exhausted raccoon and failed apocalypse extra. Still, you've made it another night. Your reward. Body odor strong enough to scare off predators. The people around you seem to notice. Just not in the way modern folks would. They sniff each other like dogs meeting at a park. It's not rude here. It's information. Health. Diet. Fear. Even menstrual cycles. Your body tells on you constantly. And there's no deodorant to bribe it into silence. Historians still argue whether early humans actively managed body scent with rituals or natural products. Some tribes may have masked odors with crushed herbs or animal fat, while others embraced the funk as part of the group's shared identity. You're somewhere between trying to mask it and just leaning in. Bathroom time is next. But don't expect privacy. There are no stalls, no occupied locks, no four walls and Bluetooth speakers playing ambient music. Just a short walk from camp, a patch of earth, and the hope that no one watches. You squat, you survive, you move on. But there's still that itch, a constant low buzz under your skin. Fleas, lice, mosquito bites, all of the above. Probably. You scratch until your arms are blotchy and red. One of the children giggles and mimics you, scratching their own head in solidarity. You both laugh. Then someone hands you a bundle of leaves. Soap. A gift. A warning. Turns out, this is the closest thing to a bath you're getting. A few members of the group lead you toward the stream again, this time gesturing more insistently. Bath time isn't optional. Apparently, you strip, awkwardly, under their unimpressed stares, and wade into the frigid water. You gasp. It's like stepping into liquefied ice cubes. You shiver so violently your teeth chatter Morse code. But then someone throws a handful of muddy leaves at you. Not in a mean way, more like exfoliation by assault. You laugh. They laugh. Soon you're all splashing, scrubbing, shaking off the grime. For a moment, it feels less like survival and more like play. And honestly, it helps. You emerge cleaner. Not clean, just less gross. You dry off in the sun. Your clothes, if you can still call them that, smell like mildew and trauma. You wring them out and put them back on anyway. Wet, cold, and ready to start the day. Hygiene isn't about feeling fresh out here. It's about not dying of infection. Every scratch, every bite, every wound is a potential disaster. You've already got a cut on your thumb from yesterday's rock incident. And it's looking puffy. Not good. Someone notices. The woman with the necklace of teeth examines your hand, clicks her tongue, and walks off. She returns with chewed bark, spits it into her palm, and smears it on the wound. You flinch. It burns. Really burns. But also, it starts to feel better. Quirky historical side note, saliva contains enzymes that can help with clotting and minor antibacterial properties. Combine that with antiseptic tree bark, and you've got ancient neosporin, if you ignore the gross factor. Later, you're given a task, scraping hides. It's both an initiation and a test. Can you do something useful without ruining it? You're handed a flat stone and a piece of drying skin. Maybe deer, maybe something less pleasant. And you're shown how to scrape away the remaining flesh and hair. It smells rancid. The texture is like wet rubber, but you keep at it. Slow, steady strokes. The stone tool vibrates in your grip, and your shoulders ache within minutes. But it's work. Meaningful work. And for the first time, no one's watching you like you're about to drop a spear on your foot. As the sun sets again, the clan gathers by the fire. Smoke curls into the purple sky. You sit beside them, closer than last night. Someone offers you roasted roots. Someone else passes a bundle of dried herbs to chew. You do both. And when someone belches loudly, no one flinches. You're learning the rhythm, the rules, the way hygiene, food, and space all blur together here. You're still the weird outsider with the soft hands and wild eyes, but a little less so today. You scratch at your scalp again. The child beside you copies you again. This time, they hand you a stick. A thin one, sharpened at the end. They part their own hair and poke the stick through it like a comb. You watch, then try it. You find a louse. Tiny, disgusting, victorious. You flick it into the fire. The kid cheers. You both laugh. And just like that, you feel 1 degree less filthy, 1 degree more human. By now, you've adjusted. Barely. To eating insects, scraping hides, and politely ignoring the constant presence of lice in your eyebrows. But as your body starts adapting to the filth, a new threat rears its ugly. Throbbing head, sickness. It begins with a headache. Not the kind you get from dehydration or screen time. This one blooms behind your eyes and pulses with every heartbeat. Then comes the heat. Your skin feels like a furnace, but your hands are ice. You sweat, then shiver, then sweat again. The people around you notice. They don't have thermometers or diagnostic tools, but they've seen this dance before. One of them, an older man with a scar running across his forehead, grunts something and points toward a patch of trees. A few others nod solemnly. Someone fetches you a wad of chewed leaves. You chew them too, mostly out of panic and politeness. They taste bitter, like sadness mixed with wet socks. But you swallow anyway. A gourd of water follows, then another wad of bark, then something that smells like it was scraped off the bottom of a moldy canoe. Your stomach clenches. Within minutes, you're curled in the fetal position by the fire, rocking gently as your insides do backflips. This, you realize, is the reality of Paleolithic medicine. Trial, error, and a heavy dash of superstition. Historians still argue whether early humans had a structured medicinal system or if healing was based more on oral tradition and shamanic guesswork. Probably both. Some plant properties were likely discovered by watching animals. For example, how wounded deer might roll in certain herbs. But for the most part, if you got sick out here, the odds were not in your favor. You're feeling that firsthand. You're not sure if the nausea is from infection. Those berries you probably shouldn't have eaten 2 days ago. Or just pure, unfiltered stress. Whatever the case, you're out of commission. And unlike back home, where being sick means tissues, streaming TV, and soup, here it just means wait. Wait. Sweat. Maybe survive. There's no hospital. No backup plan. You lie on your side as flies buzz around your ears, and the fire crackles just out of reach. Someone throws a hide over you. A kindness. Over the next few hours. Or days. It's hard to tell. You drift in and out of sleep. You have wild, Fevered dreams, talking wolves, floating rivers, your old bedroom flickering in the forest like a mirage. You wake to find someone wiping your forehead with wet moss. A child brings you a handful of berries. You refuse at first, thinking of your last berry-induced stomach symphony. But these are different, softer, blue-black. You eat them cautiously. They help. Eventually, you sit up, weak, trembling, but vertical. A small victory. The others seem surprised, relieved. Maybe. One woman, your bark-chewing nurse, grins, then coughs into her hand. You freeze. Is she sick now? Did you start something? Or did she give it to you? You look around. You see sores on one man's leg, a child with red eyes, a woman who winces when she moves her shoulder. And it hits you. This group isn't healthy. They're surviving. Yes, but sickness is a constant shadow, a shared burden. You're lucky it was just a fever. Quirky side note, some Stone Age graves show signs of attempted healing. Bones with signs of resetting. Skulls with holes drilled in them, likely for ritual or to relieve pressure. It's a strange, sobering reminder that these people didn't just suffer. They tried. They treated wounds with honey, eased pain with herbs. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But they never stopped trying. Back at the camp, you're given something else to do, gathering bark and resin. You move slowly, still weak, but glad to be useful. You follow one of the older men, who shows you how to peel bark in strips without killing the tree. You gather sticky globs of resin from pine trunks, which they later heat to patch containers and waterproof hides. You also spot something strange. Animal dung, carefully collected in a shallow pit. It smells awful, obviously, but it's not waste. It's being used. You don't even want to ask, but curiosity wins. Turns out, dried dung, especially crocodile dung in ancient Egypt, though unlikely in this region, was used in some early medicinal and even cosmetic practices. Here, it seems they burn it as insect repellent, which is surprisingly effective. You're horrified and impressed all at once. You help spread some of the ash near the sleeping area, coughing a bit as the smoke wafts up. It stinks, but you notice fewer mosquitoes. Back at the stream, you rinse off again, more out of habit than hope. You're still itchy, still crusted with grime, but a little cleaner, a little stronger. Later, one of the older women invites you to a circle around the fire. It's different this time, not just a meal. There's rhythm, singing, not words you understand, but repetitive tones, pulsing like a heartbeat. The sick and the healthy sit together, a kind of shared ritual. Maybe prayer, maybe comfort, maybe just a way to keep spirits up. One man drums with his hands on a hollow log. Another sways and hums. A girl tosses herbs into the fire, sending up fragrant smoke that tickles your nose. Soothing, hypnotic. Historians still debate whether early humans used music for healing or purely social bonding. But here, in the middle of the firelight, it's both. The rhythm steadies your breathing. The warmth loosens your chest. The presence of others, all equally breakable, makes the pain less lonely. You lie back, staring at the stars, feeling the fever break. You're not healed, but you're healing. And more importantly, you're not doing it alone. Shelter. Real shelter. Not a soggy bush or a creaky pile of branches. Tonight, you're sleeping in a cave. That might sound like an upgrade. Solid walls, roof overhead, maybe some caveman graffiti for ambience. But as with everything in the Stone Age, the fantasy and the reality are rarely on speaking terms. The group has moved to higher ground, following game trails or just avoiding flooded terrain from last night's rain. The sun's fading fast as you hike uphill, your legs wobbling like cooked noodles. You're still recovering from the fever, and every breath is a bit too sharp in your chest. But you press on, because you've heard the word repeated around camp. One of the few you're starting to recognize, shell or something like it. It always comes with nods toward the cliffs. Soon, you see it, a jagged cleft in the stone, framed by trees and underbrush. Smoke trickles out from the entrance, barely visible against the cooling air. A fire's already going inside. Your body says yes. Warmth, protection, rest. You step in with the others, and the cave swallows you whole. The first thing that hits you is the smell: smoke, wet fur, stale sweat, and something deeper. Earthy, ancient, like moss and bones. The walls glisten slightly, damp from condensation, and the ceiling is low enough that you hunch instinctively. Inside, the fire crackles. It's small but hot, and it fills the cave with orange flickers and thick, coiling smoke. There's no chimney, obviously, so the air is heavy. You cough immediately. Your eyes water. But no one else flinches. They sit around the flames as casually as if they're in a living room. They've clearly done this before. One man gestures for you to sit. You do, glad to take the weight off your legs. Then you glance up and see it. Paintings. Faint, but unmistakable handprints. Animal outlines, spirals, and stick figure humans dancing or fighting. The soot and age have blurred the colors, but it's all there. Red ochre, charcoal, maybe even blood. You stare, wide-eyed, forgetting the smoke, the heat, the discomfort. These aren't just doodles. They're stories. Quirky tidbit: archaeologists have long studied cave art, and some believe these early illustrations weren't just decoration. They might have been spiritual rituals, hunting prayers, or even early forms of teaching. Others argue they were just prehistoric boredom relief. Historians still argue whether these markings held deep symbolic meaning or were more like "Kilroy was here" scrawls in the dirt. You ask no questions, because you can't. But you point at the wall, raise your eyebrows, and one of the elders grins. She taps her chest, then gestures to the largest handprint on the wall. Hers. You nod, then point to a blank patch of wall. She thinks, smiles, dips her fingers in a bowl of reddish paste near the fire. Ground ochre mixed with fat, maybe, and smears it on your hand. She guides it toward the wall. You press your palm against stone. When you pull away, there it is, your mark. You are officially graffiti. Later that night, the wind picks up outside. You hear it howling past the cave mouth like a ghost with bronchitis. You're grateful for the shelter, until you realize something else is already sheltering here. From the darkness, deeper inside the cave, a growl. Everyone goes still. The fire hisses as someone throws on a damp log. Spears are grabbed. The elder who painted your handprint stands slowly, eyes locked on the back wall. Then a low bark, a shuffle of claws, and emerging into the light, just for a second, is a shape. A hyena. Not the cartoon kind. Not the laugh track kind. This thing is thick with muscle, covered in scars, eyes shining like marbles in the firelight. You can smell it before you see it. rotting meat and wet fur. But here's the thing, it's not charging. It's watching. The leader stands, slowly raises a flaming branch, and steps forward. The hyena huffs, backs away, vanishes. You exhale. Finally. Turns out, even caves, nature's panic room, come with tenants. Historians believe that many Stone Age humans shared caves with animals, either unknowingly or by force. Evidence suggests that while humans painted the walls, bears or hyenas were nesting in the back rooms. The rent was cheap. The danger, high. Later, curled up against the wall with your newly charcoaled handprint above you, you try to sleep. The floor is cold. The smoke curls into your lungs. Something scuttles past your ear, maybe a centipede the length of your finger. But still, it's shelter. And in the grand Stone Age scale of luxury, that puts you just below mammoth royalty. At some point in the night, a storm rolls in. Thunder cracks the sky in half. Rain lashes the stone mouth of the cave. You watch from the safety of shadows, the fire reflecting in your tired eyes. You realize something weird, you're not scared. Not in the same way. You trust this place now. The fire. The group. Even the cave with its smoky breath and haunted echoes. You've been cold, sick, nearly eaten, and nearly abandoned. But tonight, under the paintings of animals long extinct, your worst enemy is just the smell. And somehow, you can live with that. The cold arrives like a slap. Sudden, sharp, and without apology. One moment, you're waking up to another smoky cave morning, wiping drool off your elbow and wondering why your fingers feel like frozen breadsticks. The next, you're outside in a wind that slices straight through fur, skin, and ego. It's official. The Ice Age has made its entrance. Now, technically, there isn't a flashing neon sign that says welcome to the upper Paleolithic glacial maximum. But your bones don't need a calendar to feel what the planet's tilting axis has done. It's colder, sharper, relentless. Even the forest sounds different. The usual hum of birds and insects is nearly silent, muffled under a layer of frost. The clan is moving. Again. You follow, dragging your now permanently soggy shoes that used to be a hoodie and clutching your spear like a really bad hiking stick. You're walking into the kind of wind that makes your teeth hurt. If that's even possible. Your breath comes out in pale clouds, and your nose has permanently entered drip mode. The group is quieter today. Focused. Everyone's wrapped in layers. First tied with sinew. Cloaks of hide draped over shoulders. Some wear animal skulls like helmets. You have a bit of squirrel fur tied around your wrist like a pathetic bracelet. Stylish. Eventually, you reach the edge of a wide valley. It's stark, white, and horrifyingly beautiful. Frozen rivers cut across it like cracks in glass. Snow is everywhere. And far below, black specks move in a tight group. Mammoths. Actual mammoths. Huge, woolly, prehistoric tanks stomping through the tundra. Their breath rises like smoke from a steam engine, their tusks curved and ivory white against the snow. You feel your jaw drop. The clan crouches beside you, observing in silence. You can feel it. The reverence. The hunger. The danger. And suddenly, the cold isn't the only thing making your heart race. Because you realize what this is. A hunt. Not for a rabbit. Not for a bird. A mammoth. Historians still debate how often early humans successfully hunted megafauna like mammoths. Some argue it was rare and only attempted by large, highly organized groups. Others believe that over thousands of years, with teamwork and tools, humans brought down enough of them to leave visible population impact. One thing is certain, it wasn't a casual afternoon activity. You're not sure what terrifies you more, the idea of failing to kill a mammoth, or succeeding. Preparations begin quickly. The group splits into small teams, each carrying long spears, nets woven from twisted bark, and stone-tipped throwing sticks. They smear ash and clay on their faces, not for fashion, but for focus, camouflage, protection. You're handed a task. Not hunting. You're still too green. Instead, you're part of the distraction team. Drive the herd. Scatter it. Force one mammoth to break off toward a narrow pass. It's suicide-adjacent work, but it beats getting trampled in the front lines. The sun climbs. The group moves out. And then, chaos. Shouts. Rocks thrown. Spears raised. You run forward with the others, whooping like a wildling, waving your arms and leaping from behind snowy brush. The mammoths startle. Trumpet. Turn. One bolts. Just one. Just enough. This is what they want. The giant beast lumbers toward the pass, eyes wide, trunk flailing. Your heart pounds. It's like watching a semi-truck charge at full speed, powered by 10. 000 years of rage and winter. Your clan is ready. A pit lies ahead, crudely dug, disguised with branches and snow. The mammoth thunders over it, then crashes down, a roar tearing through the sky. The earth shakes. You flinch. The others don't. They move fast, raining down spears, circling, chanting. It's not just a hunt. It's a ritual. The air is filled with breath, smoke, and blood. You don't see the moment it dies, but you feel it. The shift. The exhale. When it's over, the silence is immense. You approach slowly, heart still thudding in your ears. The mammoth is motionless now, a fallen god in the snow. Blood steams from wounds. Its eye, enormous, glassy, stares into nothing. You feel sorrow, gratitude, maybe even awe, and hunger. They begin the butchering immediately. Tools appear, blades cut. Fat is carved in thick slabs. Organs are lifted out with reverence, not revulsion. Every part will be used. Meat for food, hide for warmth, bone for tools, sinew for thread. You're handed a task, carry meat back to the cave. It's heavy, slippery. You drop it once, nearly vomit, and then keep going. The next few days blur together in a haze of cooking, curing, and tanning. You learn how to smoke meat over slow-burning coals, how to stretch skin over a frame to dry, how to chip ivory into needles. The cave smells like fire, flesh, and winter. At night, you huddle close with the others, wrapped in mammoth hide that still smells faintly of tundra and blood. It's scratchy, awkward, and enormous, but it's warm. Warmer than you've ever been. You realize this isn't just survival. This is infrastructure. This is how humanity turned freezing. Bleak winters into manageable seasons. Not with central heating. Not with goose-down parkas. But with persistence. With fire. With teamwork. And with giant, woolly meat lockers on legs. Quirky detail. There's archaeological evidence that some early humans built shelters out of mammoth bones and skins. Massive tents supported by tusks, with fire pits inside. You're not quite at that level, but your cave feels like a mansion now. The cold remains, biting and brutal. Your fingers still crack. Your lips bleed, but you're no longer vulnerable in the same way. You're dressed in warmth you helped gather, fed by hands that taught you, surrounded by people who, while still not exactly handing out hugs, don't watch you like a liability anymore. And as the wind howls past the cave mouth, you sit by the fire, chewing smoked fat, watching the snow fall. You're not just surviving the ice age. You're in it. And somehow, against every modern instinct screaming inside you, you're doing okay. The cave walls flicker with firelight, and for the first time, your muscles don't ache quite so loudly. Your belly is full. Well, not Thanksgiving full, but full enough to stop growling like a gremlin. And your feet are finally wrapped in something resembling boots. Mammoth hide, stitched with sinew, lined with rabbit fur. Ugly, functional, glorious. You're sitting in the heart of the shelter, pressed between two other clan members, watching something unfold in front of you. At first, you think it's just people playing with fire. Then you realize this is something more. A ritual. Someone, an elder, possibly the group's healer or spiritual guide, has begun painting. Not on the wall this time, but on himself. He dips his fingers into bowls of colored paste. Ochre, charcoal, ground bone mixed with animal fat. He smears lines across his chest, his face, his arms. Around him, others hum low notes that vibrate in your chest, like thunder trapped in a cave. You're not sure what's happening, but no one looks afraid. If anything, they seem reverent, focused, like the moment matters. Then comes the dance. 3 figures, 2 adults and a child, step into the firelight. They wear fur masks shaped like deer and wolves, faces elongated with bone, feathers, and scraps of hide. One carries a staff tipped with a claw. The others stamp their feet in time with the rhythm, circling the fire, mimicking animals, stalking, running, falling. It's storytelling without words. Quirky tidbit. In many prehistoric cultures, cave paintings weren't the only artistic expression. Ritual dances and body adornment likely played major roles in how early humans passed down knowledge. Scholars argue over whether these were religious ceremonies, hunting prep, or even early theater. Historians still debate whether these performances were acts of magic or memory. But sitting here, heart pounding in rhythm with the drumming, you feel it doesn't really matter what the label is, because this means something. The child in the deer mask drops to all fours, crawling through the firelight as the hunter stalks it from behind. Then the hunter stops, bows his head. The deer lives. Everyone breathes. A low sound escapes the circle, part sigh, part chant. And then, a ripple of laughter. The story's over. You exhale. Didn't even know you were holding your breath. Someone beside you claps gently, palms together. Slow, like the echo of footsteps on stone. Others follow. Not applause, but acknowledgement. One of the performers, a young woman with wild, coal-black eyes, leans down and smears a thumbful of ochre on your forehead. You blink. The circle laughs again, softer this time. Congratulations. You've just been included. Later, back at your spot by the wall, you try to draw what you saw. A rough stick scratches at the floor, lines for dancers, shapes for masks, swirls for fire. It's not pretty, but it's yours. And you realize something strange. Something almost funny. You're bored. For the first time since landing in this prehistoric nightmare, there's a lull. You're not starving. You're not bleeding. You're not being chased by wolves or digesting toxic berries. So you get creative. You ask to help mix pigments. They let you. You crush charcoal with a stone. Add animal fat. Stir with a twig. The paste is thick, greasy, smells awful, and makes the most satisfying black smear across stone. A child hands you a brush made of grass tied to a stick. You paint. Badly. But again, they smile. You've gone from forager to amateur cave artist. And you're not the only one. As the days stretch out, the walls fill up with new markings. More animals. More figures. Some are clearly jokes, like the oversized bison drawn with tiny legs. Someone even etches a scene where one human is slipping on ice, arms flailing. You suspect it's you. There's laughter, play, expression. This is art with dirt under its fingernails and soot in its hair. And it matters. Art isn't optional here. It's how people remember. How they pass on warnings and victories and dreams. When you can't write. When stories live only in your head. A cave wall becomes your scroll. Your Twitter. Your family album. Your sermon. One evening, the elder leads a chant. The fire dims low. A bowl of embers is passed around. Smoke rising in slow spirals. He sprinkles dried herbs over the coals. And the smoke thickens. Sweeter now. Cloying. People breathe it in. And then the dreams begin. You don't know if it's the herbs, the fire, or the collective silence. But you start seeing shapes in the darkness. Mammoths walking backwards. A giant bird flying over stars. Your own reflection staring at you from the fire. Only. Older. You close your eyes, and you hear it. A voice. A drumbeat. Your own blood. You wake with the others. No one speaks. But something feels different, like your mind's been dusted off. Historians debate whether these rituals were spiritual or psychological. Some say early humans used trance to cope with trauma, to connect with nature, or even as early therapy. Others suggest it was just another survival tactic. Bonding the group, releasing tension, reminding everyone they weren't alone in the dark. You can't say for sure, but you feel it. Deep in your chest, you belong more tonight than you did yesterday. You even start your own fire. Alone. It's a tiny blaze, but steady. You draw beside it. Your fingertips black with charcoal. You hum the rhythm of the chant. You don't know the words, but your breath matches the beat. And for the first time, you think, maybe I'm not just surviving the Stone Age. Maybe I'm living in it. You wake up with a foot in your face. Not metaphorically. A literal. Frostbitten. Muddy foot that's wedged itself under your chin sometime in the night. You groan, roll away, and end up face to fur with someone's armpit. Romantic. No. But in the Stone Age, this is peak intimacy. Speaking of which, let's talk about love. Or whatever version of love exists when your teeth are falling out at 30. Your clothing smells like dried elk liver. And your main form of flirting involves offering someone a roasted beetle. There's a kind of rhythm to relationships in this world. But it's not the meet cute, lock eyes across the room nonsense you're used to. Here, partnership isn't built on pickup lines or witty banter. It's built on survival, proximity, and usefulness. You first notice it when a man and woman from your group head off into the woods together. No explanation. Just a shared glance. A nod. And gone. When they return later, they're smiling, carrying berries, and wearing each other's cloaks. Later that day, you watch another pair sit silently while cleaning bones. No words, just shared space, mirrored movements, a quiet synchronization. It looks more like teamwork than affection. But then again, what's the difference here? Historians still argue whether Paleolithic relationships were monogamous, seasonal, or entirely pragmatic. Some theories suggest pair bonding existed, especially for co-parenting, while others point to more fluid arrangements, shared partners, communal child-rearing, or it takes a village-style unions. The truth probably varied widely across groups, regions, and generations. What's clear in this group is that affection isn't loud. There's no kissing, no gift-giving beyond food or tools. But there are subtle signs, shared furs at night, private walks, even carved trinkets left beside sleeping spots. You've also noticed the looks, curious ones, directed at you. There's a young woman, sharp-eyed, always quick to laugh at your clumsy spear throws. She's made you share firewood twice. Once, she corrected your hide-scraping technique by grabbing your wrist. Firm, patient, confident. Last night, she handed you a piece of roasted marrow without a word. That might not seem like much in your old life. Here, it's basically a sonnet. And it's not just her. People are watching how you integrate, how you carry loads, how you treat the elders, how you interact with children. You're being evaluated. Romantic worth, in this world, is deeply entangled with survival. If you can't carry your weight, literally and figuratively, no one's investing in your genes. You try harder. Bring extra kindling. Share meat without being asked. When the group forages, you offer your questionable knowledge of edible roots. Sometimes you're right, sometimes not. Once, the sharp-eyed woman saves you from a toxic bulb by yanking it out of your hands before you bite it. She laughs. You pretend you were joking. Later that evening, a new kind of ritual begins. Not the storytelling type. Not the dance. This one is courtship. You're not sure if it's seasonal or just timed around warmth. But the mood shifts. The fire's brighter. People are grooming themselves. Combing out tangles. Readying furs. Even smearing a little extra pigment on cheeks and arms. You do the same. Dip your fingers in the ochre bowl. Smear 2 awkward lines down your face. You look like a raccoon who lost a fight, but the effort counts. Then, the circle begins. No firelight performance this time. Just pairs forming slowly, drifting toward the outer cave wall. Some sit together. Others stand close, talking in hushed voices. You hover, unsure. And then she appears, the sharp-eyed one. She taps your elbow, nods toward the entrance. You follow. Outside, the moon hangs low, huge and golden, casting soft light over the snow. Your breath plumes in front of you. You sit side by side on a flat rock. She pulls something from her pouch. Twisted sinew, looped around a carved piece of bone. Simple, smooth, worn by time and hands. She holds it out. You freeze. This is it, isn't it? You take it gently. Nod. Say nothing. She smiles, then leans in, touches your forehead with hers. Briefly, warmly. It's not a kiss, but it's enough. You don't sleep much that night. Not because anything happens. This is PG-13. Remember, but because your brain is reeling. You've just entered a relationship. In the Stone Age. And now, everything changes. You eat together. Work together. Sleep closer at night. Others take notice. You're asked to carry more. To take on harder tasks. Partnership means pressure. Expectations. Later that week, you accompany her on a hunting trip. Not mammoth this time. Just small game. She's fast. Precise. You admire her tracking skill. She laughs when you trip on a route. You bring back 2 rabbits. One from her. One from you. Yours is smaller. Crooked. She still holds it up proudly, showing it to the group like a prize. Quirky fact, some anthropologists suggest that early romantic bonds were reinforced not through conversation but through cooperative work. Skinning an animal together, raising a fire, or jointly caring for a child were all acts of affection. And you're learning that firsthand. It's not Hollywood. It's not even tribal romance novels. It's the slow-burning fire of shared labor. Mutual trust. Knowing someone will hand you the right stone without asking. And for the first time in your life, love feels practical. Which, in this world, is the only kind that matters. The screams wake you. Not from a nightmare, though you've had plenty of those, but from someone in the group. Raw, guttural, unmistakably real. You jolt upright, heart slamming in your chest. Around you, others stir, blinking in the half-light. Some already know what this is. Others, like you, look confused, terrified. Then it happens again. A woman cries out, louder this time. Her voice cracks mid-wail, and then you understand. Childbirth. You scramble out of your furs, dazed and unsure what's expected. One of the older women waves you back without a glance. Tight, purposeful movement. Stay out of the way. They've cleared space at the back of the cave. The fire has been moved closer. Several women gather in a semicircle around the laboring mother, whispering, chanting, moving like a single organism. You glimpse her face, drenched in sweat, eyes wild. Her hands clutch a leather cord strung from the ceiling. She swings with each contraction, body tense, legs trembling. And suddenly, you realize how fragile this all is. In your old world, childbirth was monitored, timed, scrubbed in sterile rooms by gloved professionals. Here, it's a gamble. A bloody, painful, primal gamble where 2 lives hang in the balance. Quirky fact, in many prehistoric societies, childbirth was a communal act, attended by elder women, midwives, and sometimes even young girls learning by observation. Some graves even suggest ritual protection items were placed with pregnant women, possibly charms or talismans for safe delivery. You can feel the tension build like a storm in the room. Men stay back, mostly silent. Some stare at the fire. Others whisper nervously, their hands twitching around spear shafts or stone blades. You've never felt more helpless. Then, another cry. Sharper. Cutting. You look again and see the baby's head. A second later, everything blurs. Motion. Blood. Urgency. The women work quickly. Catching. Wrapping. Cutting the cord with flint. The newborn is silent for a second that feels like eternity. Then lets out a thin, warbling wail. The entire cave exhales. The mother sobs, exhausted, Someone cleans her brow. The baby is held aloft for a moment before being passed to her, wrapped in a fur so small it barely covers one hand. You watch, throat tight, as life begins right in front of you. Historians still argue about infant mortality rates in the Stone Age. But let's be real, they were high. Without medicine, without sanitation, without anything close to modern care, the risks were astronomical, both for the mother and the child. You sit near the fire that night, unable to sleep. Not because of the baby. It sleeps, shockingly enough, but because of the truth that's now burned into your bones. Raising a child here is a miracle performed daily, without applause, without guarantees. The next few days, the mood in the group shifts. The mother is cared for closely. She eats more, sleeps more. The other women help. They carry water, massage her shoulders, soothe her with herbs. You offer to help. You're given a job. Gather firewood for smoke. Keep bugs away. You do it without complaint. The baby, a girl, is impossibly small. Her hands clench and unclench like a wind-up toy. Her skin is red and soft, marked already with tiny insect bites. She doesn't cry much, which feels ominous, or maybe normal. You don't know what's normal anymore. You notice how the clan handles her. No baby talk, no soft lullabies, just touch, warmth, presence, and alertness. Everyone's watching, every cough, every gasp. They know how quickly things turn. On day 3, she develops a cough, a shallow, rattling wheeze. Panic ripples through the group. The healer smears a thick salve on the baby's chest. Someone burns herbs in a carved stone bowl, letting the smoke curl into the air around her. Her mother doesn't sleep. Her arms never let go. You sit nearby, holding a torch, feeling like a useless extra in the most important scene of all time. But slowly, the cough fades. The baby breathes easier, sleeps deeper, lives longer. You exhale again. Later, the healer lets you hold her. Just for a moment. She's warm, impossibly light, a fragile sack of bones and potential. You look down at her face, scrunched and soft, and something inside you shifts. This isn't just about you surviving anymore. This is about the future, about continuity, legacy. You glance at your partner, sharp-eyed, calm as ever. She watches you, lips tilted in a half-smile. And that's when it really hits. Children here don't belong to just their parents. They belong to everyone. Feeding them, protecting them, teaching them. You think back to your old life. Daycare apps, booster seats, pediatricians. Now, all of that is replaced with animal fat bomb and fire-warm stones. And somehow, it still works. You start noticing more children in the group. Not many, maybe 4 or 5, ranging from wobbling toddler to sharp-eyed preteen. They're scrappy, independent, and slightly feral. But they're also deeply watched. There's no stranger danger because there are no strangers. No fences. Just community. One evening, you're helping carve a rabbit leg when one of the boys, a 6-year-old with a face like a chipmunk, tugs at your hide. You look down. He holds out a stick with a bone tied to it. It's a toy, a crude version of a spear. He grins, shows you how to throw it. You do, poorly. He laughs, grabs it, and shows you again. Another lesson, Another tiny bridge between your old world and this one. You're not raising children here, but you're part of a village that does. And that's what matters. You don't notice the body at first. It's a cold morning. Bone-white fog clinging to the trees. The ground stiff and glittering with frost. You're trudging back to camp with a bundle of firewood slung over your back when the mood shifts. The group isn't moving like it usually does. The rhythm is off. Too quiet. Too still. Then someone cries. Not a wail like the new mother a few days ago. This one's lower. Heavier. Like something has snapped. But slowly. You round the bend and see them. A small knot of people, huddled around something laid on the ground. You can't see clearly at first. Then someone steps aside. And there it is. An elder. The one who helped you make your first tool. The one who taught you how to tie sinew knots with fingers twice the size of yours and a face carved from years of wind and sun. Gone. No breath. No twitch. Just stillness. Death has come. You freeze. Back in your time. Death is kept quiet. Gurneys. Hospitals. Whispered condolences. Here, it's different. There are no barriers. No corridors. No curtains to pull shut. Everyone is present, including the children. One of them sits nearby, drawing something in the dirt with a stick. A spiral, maybe, or a wheel. The group doesn't panic. No one screams, but they don't ignore it either. They gather, form a circle, kneel. Some begin to hum, not the same chant from the art rituals, but something slower, raw. You step back, unsure if you're supposed to be here, but the sharp-eyed woman finds your hand and holds it tight. You stay. Historians still argue whether Stone Age people believed in an afterlife, spirits, or reincarnation, but evidence from burial sites shows care. Bodies positioned carefully, grave goods placed alongside them, tools, beads, pigments. Death wasn't abandonment. It was transition. Soon, the preparations begin. A shallow grave is dug near the edge of the forest, in a sunlit patch of earth ringed with moss. Not too deep. Frozen ground makes that impossible, but enough to cover and protect. They wrap the body in furs, then place it on a platform of branches. Someone lays a flint blade on his chest. Another sets down a carved figure. Wooden, bird-shaped, worn smooth. You notice a smear of ochre across the forehead, the same color used in the fire rituals. This is a ceremony, not with hymns or eulogies, but with motion, presence, and silence. You help carry the body. It's heavy, yes, but also strangely light. A vessel emptied. You help place the branches over him. You place a rock at his feet. No one asks you to. It just feels necessary. When the last handful of dirt is tossed, a quiet settles. A long pause. No one rushes. Grief here has time, not space. There's no privacy, but time. A child sobs once, then curls into an older sibling's lap. Your sharp-eyed partner closes her eyes, lips moving soundlessly. You sit for a long time, and then life resumes. Not callously, just inevitably. People return to the cave. Tools must be sharpened, meat prepared, children fed. But you carry the weight of that morning like a stone in your chest. Because it wasn't just a death. It was the first one you felt here. The first that included you. Later that day, you're asked to help move a bundle of firewood. The man who asks you used to defer to you, back when you were still the strange one. Now, he doesn't even glance twice. You're part of the fabric. It's jarring. This shift. You realize that death doesn't divide you from the group. Pulls you deeper into it. Quirky tidbit. There's a 35,000-year-old site in Russia where a child was buried with hundreds of ivory beads and a flint blade. A clear sign that even the young were given full, respectful burials. Meaning, grief isn't a modern invention. It's ancient, deep, inescapable. That night, around the fire, no stories are told, no paintings made, just quiet chewing, muted glances, long silences, but you catch something subtle. The elder who passed, his name, if he had one, is murmured, remembered. A moment is shared, then another. It's not loud, not flashy, but it's honest. A few days later, the sharp-eyed woman brings you to a tree near the burial site. She places her palm against the trunk. You do the same. She traces a pattern into the bark. 3 short lines, then walks away. No words, but you understand. A marker, a memory, a sign that someone was here. You keep your hand on the tree a moment longer. Not to mourn, but to honor. That night, sleep doesn't come easily. You stare at the cave ceiling, watching the firelight flicker across paintings. Figures frozen mid-run, mammoths mid-charge. You realize that every face here will, eventually, fade. Every voice, every heartbeat. And yet, they leave something behind. A story, a tool, a child, painting, a rock laid with care. That's survival too. Not just eating or not freezing, but being remembered. You roll over and find your partner already asleep. Her hand curled near yours, just brushing your knuckles. You close your eyes. And for once, dream not of being chased, or starving, or freezing, but of people, of staying, of returning. You've lasted weeks, longer than anyone, including you, expected. Your hands are calloused. Your clothes are stitched with sinew and stubbornness. Your hair, once soft and reasonably shampooed, now lives its own separate, chaotic existence. But you've stopped noticing. What matters now is the rhythm: wake, forage, carry, watch, share, sleep, repeat. And yet, something in you stirs. Not hunger, not fear, a longing. Because now, with the fever long gone, your tools sharp, and your place in the group secured, you find yourself thinking about home. Not your cave home. Not the one with soot-covered walls and mammoth fat lamps. Your old home. The one with running water, with hot showers, blinking Wi-Fi routers, and beds that don't involve curling around someone's knees for warmth. The one where you didn't eat breakfast next to a pile of deer skulls. It hits you one morning, as you're washing in the stream. The sun's just rising, a silver mist coiling through the air. You splash your face and suddenly picture your toothbrush. That blue one, electric, with the soft bristles. You miss it so much you almost cry. Not because it was special, but because it was easy. You try to shake it off. You've come too far to start longing for minty toothpaste and Spotify playlists. But the thoughts creep in. Hot pizza, clean towels, socks that match, a doorknob, an off switch. Still, you push through the day. You help butcher a deer. You carve a new handle for your scraping tool. You share roasted marrow with the child who once made fun of your terrible spear throw. Life, in its own crude way, continues, but the ache doesn't leave. And then, one night, it rains. Hard. Not a gentle drizzle or a scenic mist, but a cold, brutal downpour that soaks through hides, collapses fire pits, and turns the cave mouth into a muddy funnel. Everyone scrambles. Your fire goes out. The furs are wet. Smoke stings your eyes. You huddle in the dark, shoulders pressed against shoulders, the baby crying somewhere in the mess. The floor turns to sludge. You've never been wetter in your life. You laugh. Not out of joy, out of disbelief. How did this become normal? By morning, the storm passes. A strange calm follows. The air smells like ash and damp fur. The clan begins drying everything out. Tools, skins, baskets. No one complains. No one blames the sky. They just do. And you realize, with a kind of quiet heartbreak, that you're not built for this world. Not forever. You've adapted, yes, but not completely. Not the way they have. You still flinch at every crack of thunder. Still miss zippers. Still dream of blankets that don't have holes. You've learned to endure, but they've never known another way. That's the difference. Your survival here has been borrowed, carried on their backs, cradled by their fire, smoothed over by their knowledge. You've imitated, mimicked, and tried your best, but deep down, you are still not of this place. And they know it. Not in a hostile way, but in that quiet, unspoken understanding people get when they sense something temporary. One evening, your sharp-eyed partner hands you something small. Pouch, tied shut with sinew. Inside, carved bead. You recognize the pattern. Her mark, the same one painted on her shoulder. She nods, presses it into your hand, and says something you've come to understand through tone. Not words. You can go. Not a dismissal. Not anger. Just truth. There's a place beyond this. For you. They feel it. So do you. You don't know how, or when, or whether it's even physically possible. But the pull has returned. A quiet tug in your chest. You rise early the next morning. No grand farewell. No speeches. Just small nods. Lingering glances. The healer gives you a wrapped bundle of smoked meat. The child who taught you the fake spear game presses a stick into your hand. One end carved like a mammoth. Your partner kisses your forehead. Just once. You set off. You don't know how long you walk. The trees blur. The stream twists. The sun rises and falls. Maybe it's days. Maybe only hours. But eventually, something shifts. The trees thin. The light sharpens. And then, just like that, you blink. And the world changes. You open your eyes. Your bed. Your sheets. Your ceiling. Your home. The heater hums. The digital clock glows. Somewhere, a neighbor starts their car. And your toothbrush, exactly where you left it. You sit up, dazed. Were you dreaming? Your hands say no, still rough, fingertips calloused, dirt under your nails. You laugh, or cry, you're not sure which. It's over, but it's not gone. You carry it with you now, the cold, the fire, the silence, the people, their rhythms, their courage, their stories, your place among them. You survived. Not just a day, but enough. The storm has passed. The fire's just embers now, fading gently into the dark. You feel the last echoes of that ancient world curling around you like smoke. Soft, smoky, half-remembered. It's quieter, isn't it? No more mammoths. No more bone tools or cave walls slick with soot. Just the sound of your breath, slow and steady. The weight of your blanket, the warmth of now. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're still there. Just for a little longer. The stars overhead, the crackle of the fire, a painted handprint on stone, whispering, "You were here." The Stone Age didn't offer comfort, but it gave something deeper, connection, to the earth, to others, to survival itself. Let that stay with you. Because even now, surrounded by glass and Wi-Fi and soft pillows, that same thread runs through you. A piece of something older, wiser, stronger. You felt hunger, cold, fear, wonder. You've made fire from nothing. You've watched life begin, and you've stood quiet as it ended. So, wherever you are, whoever you are, remember this. You've already survived more than you know. You're here, still breathing, still human. Let the world slow down now. Let your thoughts quiet. Let sleep carry you gently into a place where time doesn't exist, and the fire never fades. Good night, traveler, and sweet dreams.